I'm Bonnie. Welcome to Tarot with Bonnie and Peter, where we take the mystery out of the tarot and help you bring this ancient practice into everyday life. In this podcast, we'll talk about life, tarot, and everything in between. So grab your tarot deck, get comfortable, and start your journey to tarot with Bonnie and Peter. Welcome to Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. I'm Bonnie, and we're excited to welcome you back. We've had a little bit of a break, and for those of you who have been waiting for us to release another episode, we appreciate your patience, and we're so excited to be back here talking to you. Hello, Peter. How are you?
I'm good. Same. I'm excited to be back recording, new and fresh episodes because, it's hard. I miss you and I miss this. And, it's been a while. We were looking to see how long it's been, and it's been over a month since we dropped an episode. And I don't think we've had a hiatus that long. We've had stops before, but never this long. So it is definitely good to be back at it.
It is good to be back. And it's funny because this will segue into what we're going to talk about today, but it's really about like honoring, things that you go through in life. Like life sometimes happens, and sometimes we just need to take a break. And we're going to talk a little bit about Libra today, and the Justice card. And when we look at that, it's about balance. And sometimes when we're too extreme on one end, something has to give. And we just needed to take a little break, but we're back and honoring what has come up. Correct. Allowing that to
run its course.
Yep.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you take what you need, and then you kind of return to things when you can. So do you want to talk about what we're going to talk about today?
Yeah, I know. We're a little tongue-tied here because we haven't done this for a while. Right. And Peter and I had to do like a massive catch-up when we, just before we started recording. So, so actually, as we're recording this episode, there's going to be a full moon in Aries tonight. Yeah. So by the time you listen to this, it'll be a few days past, but we'll just talk a little bit about some rituals that we can do around a full moon, and then sort of take that a little bit further and see the significance of where that full moon sits in terms of astrology, and then translate that into the card in the major arcana in tarot. And then we have a new moon in Libra coming up, and this excites me because I am a Libra. I'm like a double Libra, right? Like a Libra sun, Libra rising.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so I have a lot of Libra in my chart. Justice is my lady. So we're going to be talking about some new moon rituals that you can do through the lens of the Justice card. So we're excited to be here and to share this information with you. And you ready to get started? Peter's the master here. I'm just piggybacking on what he said.
I just have a what I think is a well-established practice around the tarot and lunation, but when it comes to the astrology, like, what sign is what, my understanding is pretty basic, but it works for me. And I always think, one of the reasons why we wanted to do this podcast was because we both practice the tarot. We practice it in different ways. And we figure if we talk about what we do and what works for us, then, maybe it helps you in your own tarot practice. So the only thing, and I'll talk about what I call lunations, like, so the new moon and full moon in general and how I go about doing that. And then, we'll look specifically at the full moon in Aries that, you're right, will be past, but all the stuff can really apply to any full moon. And then, your exciting new moon in Libra, it's almost a new moon in Scorpio, but not quite, because I think it's at 27 or 28 degrees. It's at the tail end. It's at the tail end of Libra. Because we just had, was it in Virgo? It might have been in Virgo. We had the three lunations, like we had the two new moons and the full moon kind of in between. So we're...
And an eclipse was in there in the mix.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, eclipse season.
I'm doing my homework, Peter.
Look at that, right? Look at that. And then I know, a dear astrologer of mine would say that doing that kind of moon work during an eclipse is probably not, because eclipses get kind of crunchy, and I'm more like to me, the moon signifies that concept of reflection, particularly self-reflection. So I tend to sometimes ignore the advice of staying away from eclipses to my own
Mm.
detriment as well, perhaps. Who knows? But yeah,
But really, doing rituals around the moon cycles is so powerful
I
because it's
agree.
such a time of reflection, right? So if, you're in the mood to do some inner work, this is a great energy to be in to do that. I mean, any time is a good time to do inner work,
Yeah.
but especially around, a new moon cycle, I think is extra special. So,
Well, I agree. And then I always think, and I think it was when the last time we were talking about the moon, and that idea of borrowed light or reflected light or secondary light, the light that comes from the sun. I think we were talking to Yasmin Bolin about that. And I really kind of internalized that, the moon, it lets us see the light of ourselves, but perhaps in a way that isn't quite as bright and makes it easier to look at than looking directly at the sun. So that had a profound impact on me. And now even when I do like my newsletters and my lunation questions and build spreads around a full moon or a new moon, I really think about those self questions because I think, well, it's either the light of the sun or, it's the impact of no light whatsoever that, that
Mhm.
block that comes from the new moon. But it's still that interplay between the sun and the moon, between kind of the self and then the reflected self. So I
Mhm.
love that. Maybe sorry, I might be getting a little philosophical, but I love that concept, that idea, regardless of eclipse or not, that concept of reflection when it comes to the moon and self-reflection because it is the light that we see, and then I just imagine peoples that, hundreds or thousands of years ago that they would have been in awe looking up at the sky and seeing, the moon. Like, it's why
Mhm.
all kinds of myths and stories, come from that interplay between humans and that big ball that sits, not the big fiery one, but the other one, right?
But it's magical when there's a
That's
full
always
moon
oh,
out. It doesn't even really matter the size of the moon, really. But when you can see the moon in the sky, I don't know, it just takes your breath away. Like it's like looking at a rainbow.
yeah,
Nothing else matters because you're just looking at that image in the sky, and it almost see like it's so far away, but yet it's so prominent at the
it
same
is.
time.
Yeah,
So,
and it's personal, like, it's almost like you
mhm,
feel that you can see it enough to connect with it. I mean, I know, I
mhm.
was thinking of, young pagan Peter, whose friends would have been, dangling whatever they would have been dangling from the rear view mirror of their cars, and I had a hematite moon. So it
Oh,
was a pendant where the necklace itself was made of little hematite beads, and then the moon I had both, I had the sun and the moon, but made of hematite, which would be very much kind of a moon-related, stone, and always, like, and I'm talking that's my early 20s, and it would have been,
like a
eh,
couple years ago.
just a couple of years ago. But, I think of, my friends or my peers, that's not what they would have been, hanging off their rearview mirror, and I was like, always, it
Fuzzy
just
dice.
yeah, probably fuzzy dice, but the moon is just there's just a power that comes from that, I think is second to none and very different from the power that comes from the sun, but really one that causes
Well, you
reflection.
can't look at the sun, right? Like,
Yeah.
really? I mean, you can see the sun,
Yeah.
but looking directly at the sun is not the best thing to do. But the moon,
It's
you can
dangerous.
stare at the moon, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and often have and often do, so
And you can howl at the moon too.
done that too. All right. I can think Toronto Pagan Conference 2005 or 2006. Out we went. That's exactly what we did. Exactly what we did. So, all right. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Okay.
right.
Shall
Good
we,
place to start for people,
yeah.
right? If you haven't done moon magic, sometimes even just going out and looking at the moon, in all of its phases is a good thing to say. Sorry, you were going to get us
No.
started.
Yeah. Do you wanna take it away, Peter?
Well, I mean, look, we said we're gonna start with the full moon in Aries, which is literally, I think,
Yeah, we'll do
hours.
a quick little
Yeah,
recap since that's gonna sort of yeah, when you listen to
yeah,
this episode, it'll be past,
it'd
but
be
then
past
whatever we're gonna talk about, you can use for the next full
full moon,
moon
which will
cycle as
be
well.
yeah,
So,
which will be in Taurus, probably sometime. Well, be I guess early November, probably somewhere around November the second, third, fourth. Like can find out exactly, but um, yeah, because to me, I always think, we talk about two things, right? We talk about the full moon itself, which is a great time for that idea of release, that idea of cleansing or cleaning. I always think it often a time for me when I'll do something like firework where, I'm burning something away. But I
Mhm.
also think, and maybe this is me, I don't know if this would be typical full moon practice, but I also think that idea of letting go is often a time to give thanks or gratitude. It's like, thank you
Mhm.
for serving whatever, right? Um,
Mhm.
so I would take that and that would never change for me from full moon to full moon to full moon. That's the work. And then what changes is the sign slash the card sort of associated with it. So you said the idea of the full moon in Aries. Well, the Aries, to me, that's the Emperor card. So that's that idea of control and leadership, but also, of stability. You had mentioned that concept of routine. So then that's where I would place my focus. And it's
Mhm.
really interesting because, we had time off because I had surgery and I'm, kind of getting my body and my routine back. So for me, this work, to get a little personal without getting into a lot of detail is going to be, grateful for the healing time and then,
Mhm.
kind of looking forward, kind of letting go of what my body needed to do, and saying, "Great, thank you. Thank you for the rest. Thank you for, the time that was needed." And then just kind of saying, "All right, be gone with you now." And then looking at those questions that will establish new routines moving forward and really drawing on that emperor energy. But for me, then also drawing on the energy of the self, in Aries and that
Mhm.
that kind of ram-based power, those I am questions that would really be those psychological questions that would be linked, to, I guess, a
Mhm.
modern interpretation of Aries. So, and that's it. Like that in a nutshell is literally the lunation work that I would do, right? Full moon, all the stuff that goes with it, and then sign slash, card. Um, it would go along with that too. What about you? Like when you think about that kind of work, what would it look like?
Yeah. So I've been doing like moon work for
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
years, not so much in
You're the
conjunction with.
expert in this area, by the way. Just let me
Yeah, but not with the
Oh,
astrological tie to it. I'm getting better at that. So and it's very interesting. So seeing whenever there's a full moon, if I don't do something intentional, like specific that I'm sitting down and writing stuff out. When I go to bed at night and I'm like, oh, right, it's a full moon, I do sort of the mental cleanse in my head. And I literally think about all the things that aren't serving me anymore that I would like to release in this cycle. And sometimes those things repeat. It's not like, oh, I want to release this thing. And then by the next moon cycle, it's gone. Sometimes those are things that we just need to keep coming back to. So I definitely believe that this is a really great time to just become aware and sense of like what isn't serving me anymore, and if I have an intention, what is not in alignment with that intention that I'm ready to release. And when we think about release, it's not technically releasing because energy doesn't change. Like energy doesn't, it's not created and it's not destroyed, right? So when we're releasing something, we're actually transforming that. So if there's something that you're wanting to release from the body, it's like, yes, I'm releasing this, but it's also being transformed into something that I want to bring in. So if we think about that as like the cyclical process, then it makes it a lot more interesting because it's like I'm not losing something, I'm gaining, like I am losing something, but I'm gaining something at the same time. And then I kind of like to think about that as like the closet analogy when your closet is jam packed, right? Like mine is right now. This is terrible. I'm being like full disclosure here. I have so much stuff in my closet that there's piles on the floor of things I have to get rid of. I literally can't fit anything else in there. So this would be a perfect opportunity to be like, nothing else can come into my closet because it's full. And that's really the symbology of the full moon. It's like it's full, nothing else can fit in this moon. So in order to bring something else in, something has to go, right? Like one out of the closet, one back in the closet kind of thing. When your closet is organized and neat.
look, I'm laughing only because we never talk about this, but for those of you who listen to my wife's podcast, she literally just did an episode. I think it was kind of linked in some ways to the full moon in Aries, and she talked about, and I think she did a blog post as well, or it might have been her members, but somewhere I literally just did that. Like at the time leading up to the full moon in Aries, I went through my closet. Cal went up into the closet and she's like, "We've been robbed." she actually, I cleared out what must have been 30 articles of clothing I hadn't worn in years. And I wasn't making that connection, but I thought it was interesting that I did that in the lead up to the full moon in Aries, and then donated, well, I gave 4 shirts to my son, a tie to a buddy of mine because I took a picture of the ties and look, I'm never going to wear them, but donated 4 bags, like 4 bags worth of stuff. And some of it is, labels I bought while I was living in Belgium, like nice European labels. I wore them 2 or 3 times. And the feeling of, like you said, of release, but then now I can think, okay, well, what do I need now that can then fill that space again? So, I'm not going to go and, completely redo my wardrobe, but there are some things where I'm like, I got rid of that which didn't serve me, and I've left space for something else that might be able to come in and serve me better in this time that I am now. I love that, the closet. And you got to let me know, if you go in there and purge the closet.
I need to do that before and after. I have done massive closet purges in the past. And it's funny what you said about gratitude when we're doing this practice of release. So if we think about KonMari, I don't know if you know about her. She's like the tidying expert. And her whole sort of philosophy is that when you're going through your clothes, we'll just use clothes as an example, but you can do this with any item. It's like, does this spark joy for me? And if it doesn't, and you're ready to release it, you thank it. So before you actually get rid of it, it's like, thank you. So it really is a beautiful way of thanking what we don't really need anymore, and then creating that space and creating, new opportunities and possibilities because now there's space for that. So that's really the energy behind the full moon and these types of practices, to really just be like, if I wanted to buy something new and I bought it and I had to cram it in my closet, that would have a very different energy rather than being like, look at all the room in here. My clothes can be free. They're not all jammed up against each other. So a really interesting way to look at things in our life, right? And that's just clothes. I mean, we can apply that to anything, relationships, things on our to-do list, right? Like things that we're spending time and energy doing that really, if we look at it, is there something that could be better? Because if there is, then it's time to say, thank you. I release you and I invite something else in.
Yep. Well, I told you what, I was doing in preparation just before, we went to record this, and the purchases that I did with the plan of doing a complete. So when we next do an episode, my background will look completely different because I need to go through, I need to purge, and kind of change things. And then I even thought about the closet and the analogy of, for me, the card of Aries, which would be the Emperor. And these were all clothing that I would have worn while I was in a strong leadership position. I, was a principal, and I haven't done that in 4 years. 4 years? Oh my goodness, haven't done that in 4 years. So it was time. It was time to let go and leave space. And we talked about drawing a card. All right. So
do we want to see like what is ready to be released?
Yeah, totally.
You want to do that?
Yeah, sure. I would love to do that.
So we'll each pull a card.
Yep. And I'm using, which one am I using? I'm using the Halloween Tarot. I wonder where I got that.
I wonder where you got that. I have that deck too, and that's the one I'm going to use.
There you go. Well, and Halloween, we're
Halloween season, people.
Yeah,
I have my mug.
I know. I'm one of those people where it's like, you know what? The Canadian Thanksgiving weekend kind of goes, and once that's gone, then I usually jump into Halloween. It's not that I have a hard and fast, not Halloween. Some of the houses in our neighborhood have gone all out already. They were there in late September. But
yeah, I haven't put up my Halloween decorations yet, but they're coming soon because I was away. I was away last week, so I'm a little bit late. But I was the same. I was like, oh, no Halloween decorations till after Thanksgiving. But then that only gives me 2 weeks. It's so much work. I need to appreciate it for longer than that.
All right. So thinking about letting go, thinking about releasing. I'm going to think possibly as well about either thanks or gratitude for things that I've already let go, or kind of, things that I'm going to burn or bury or wash away or whatever that happens to be. But we'll see what the tarot has to say. All right.
Ah, okay. I have my card.
I have mine as well. All right. What have you got?
Okay. Ready?
Yep.
This is crazy. Okay. So this is what I'm ready to release.
Yeah.
And I have the 8 of Bats.
Oh, wow.
Which in this deck is the Eight of Swords.
Right?
So this deck is very similar to a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but it's more like Halloween inspired. So it has the woman, she's bound by like ribbon. She's blindfolded and there's bats all around her with the ribbon. So it appears that she seems to be stuck and can't move. So
not truly stuck though. Not truly stuck.
Not true. Right. Yeah. This is the whole, it's like we're sort of paralyzed by our own thoughts, right? It's our own thoughts that keep us in the state of feeling like we're stuck, feeling like there isn't a way out. So if I were to release that, it would be like, okay, Bonnie, where in my life do I feel stuck right now? Where in my life do I feel like I don't have control of a situation? And then how can I create some space to really look at that from, a different perspective? And no, because if we're feeling stuck, it's going to be very difficult to get clarity to figure out how we can become unstuck. So just having the awareness of like, okay, I feel stuck. What am I looking at? Gives you that opportunity to step back and see like, why am I really here and what's really keeping me here? Doing a deeper dive into that and realizing that it's probably my own fears, my own judgments that are afraid to move forward, right? Quite often we're afraid to go out into the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen. So we play small and we hide, which I'm very good at doing. Although I'm getting better now. So that's what I would be releasing. I would be releasing this feeling of stagnation, this feeling of feeling trapped, but knowing that I'm there by my own thoughts.
Yeah. And you're right. And then sometimes it is, because I always think of, again, the Rider-Waite, the idea of the 8 to the 9, and the next card being the 9 of Swords is that it's our fears and our anxieties. And then I wonder whether or not this card kind of leads up to that in that, it's, I feel like I'm trapped. I feel like I can't move, but really, or sorry, I should say with this one, it wouldn't be, I think I can't move. I think I'm trapped, when in reality, I'm not.
And if we don't do something about it, we're going to end up in the 9 of Swords, and we don't want to go there.
That's exactly it. We'd rather stay away from that.
Yeah. So, okay. So I've got some work to do. Not at all surprised that card showed up for me. But
no? Well, this one I'm kind of looking at. I'm like, I might need your help. And one, because it's a deck that I haven't used before. This is my first. I drew the Knight of Ghosts, which is the Knight of Cups.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, I love it. It's already coming.
Woo! All right. So, go ahead. You tell me. I'm curious of your insights, because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, I think about that. I always think about a knight as the action oriented, and that idea of quick and swift movement. Particularly, if it's the Knight of Ghosts and it's in that area of things that, I really care about, or that I'm quite passionate about. And that, so if we're talking about the idea of having to let that go, or even being grateful for, I think about what would have been, kind of very difficult but fast moving things that, have happened. I think about, we just had a recent family visit, which, we were moving at a very quick pace, but moving, with that container of love and compassion for people that you care deeply about. And literally said goodbye to that yesterday. So part of me wonders whether or not the Knight of Ghosts is saying, okay, you know what, time to let that go. It's time to, as the driver of the bus of people that you cared about, it's time to say, okay, you know what, that's kind of in the rear view mirror now. Time to sort of move on. That's what I was thinking of. What insights would you provide? Because you seemed to light up when you saw this card, which wasn't my response. So,
the Knight of Cups has a really profound meaning for me. One time when I was doing a reading for myself and I got the Knight of Cups, I had this realization that it was like the knight was handing me a cup, right? And this cup it's like this cup of sensitivity. So as a young child, I cried a lot. I'm extremely sensitive, empathic, which I'm sure many people are who are listening to this podcast. and I cried a lot because I didn't know how to feel other people's feelings. And now that I'm older, I realize that that's exactly what I was doing. And I got criticized a lot because nobody could say anything to me because I was always crying, right? Like crying was a bad thing for me. And when I saw that Knight of Cups in that particular situation, he was like handing me this cup and being like, this is your superpower. I'm giving you back your sensitivity, right? So it's like this gift of sensitivity and intuition that you have access to. But part of that is being vulnerable, right? So I see the Knight of Cups as someone who's extremely sensitive and vulnerable. He's like the romantic, he's the poet, right? He asks the girl out on a date. Like he's not afraid to go after what he wants. He's the dreamer. So it's like if we could embody those qualities without fear of rejection or without the fear of wearing our heart on our sleeve or like knowing that people know we're sensitive, that's a true gift. So in that respect, I would say something you might be ready to release is the fear of being vulnerable or the fear of being sensitive or the fear of really following your dreams without that judgment that you think may or may not come from other people. So,
or even the gratitude that role exists inside oneself and to be able to, because I always think of the Knight as forward movement and action oriented. So even the idea of saying, thank you for having the Knight of Ghosts and the Knight of Cups being part of who I am. And, now it's time to let go of that fear of taking on that role and saying, need to be vulnerable. You need to, have that romantic element, that Knight of Cups, the chivalrous, for lack of a better word.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that.
Right. It's hard to be vulnerable. It's scary to be vulnerable and sensitive. Right. But this Knight is like, I don't give a, whatever people think of me. I'm just going to go out there and be myself and be romantic and poetic and live my dream. So.
Wow. Okay. All right. Now.
Okay. So.
Now, so let me ask you, because I love your insight around moon work. So we talked a little bit about what we would do with the full moon. We talked, about the past full moon in Aries and what would you do with the new moon? So we've got, for people who are listening to this is relevant because we're going to talk about, a new moon in Libra. We've already talked about Bonnie with a deep connection to Libra. How would you go about that if you're doing work with the new moon coming up? I guess it'd be mid-October now. Yeah, I guess it's going to be probably around the 19th.
21st. I think the 21st of October. Yeah, I love new moon and I love full moon energy. I love new moon energy. So I love setting intentions. I've talked about that many, many times on the show. I think having an intention is really important for how we live our life. I think that if we don't have something that we're sort of focused on, we just wake up every day and we live the same day that we lived yesterday. And we're just going to keep repeating that if we sort of don't have that intentionality behind what it is that we're doing. So I think setting intentions is really important. And the new moon is a beautiful time to set new intentions. So again, if we're going to look at the symbolism of the moon, so the full moon is full. The new moon is empty. So now it's full of possibility, right? It's potential, it's opportunity. So when that moon is going to start to grow, right? So now we're starting at 0 basically, and that moon is going to grow. What do you want to put into that moon? What is your intention? What are your wishes for this next season? And that's where this full moon work helps because you're sort of clearing the path, right? Like releasing all of the things that aren't serving this intention that you want to bring in. So it's a really beautiful time to just focus on what is it that I really want? How do I want to feel? How do I want to live? For a lot of people, that could be material things or something that you want in life that you want to manifest. For other people, and I think as we're starting to, like with sort of this higher level of consciousness, we're thinking about like, how do we want to feel? How do we actually want to live? We're realizing that some of those material things aren't actually doing what we think they're going to do. So if, I want that new car because I think that car is going to make me happy, ultimately I want to be happy. So my intention is, I am happy or my life is joyful, things like that. So a beautiful way to incorporate tarot into that is pulling a card. Like, so we just did, what am I ready to release? this could be, what am I ready to embrace? What am I ready to step into? And we can use the tarot to help us figure that out. I think the tarot is a beautiful tool to do that. And if we look at that through the lens of Libra, because it's the new moon in Libra, we have the scales, right? We have the Justice card. And the Justice card, well, I have, of course, an affinity for this card because it's linked to Libra. But when I see the Justice card, I don't really see law and order. I see more truth. And when I think about truth, I think about our own truth. What is the truth that we're living, right? So it's like, if I'm standing in my truth and what I put out into the world based on my thoughts, right? We have air, the element of air. That's what's going to come back to me. So if my thoughts are filled with like negativity or feelings of unworthiness or I'm not good enough, that's what's going to keep coming back to me, right? Like if we think of like the Justice card as like that karmic energy, what we put out into the world is what's going to come back to us. And we can think about that through law and order as well. If I do something bad, there's going to be a consequence for that. So if I'm thinking those thoughts, there's going to be a consequence to me thinking those thoughts. So how can I stand in my truth? How can I differentiate between truth and, lies, the lies that I tell myself? So I really think the Justice card is this opportunity to stand in your power, to reclaim your power, and to be like, what is out of balance? And generally that could be our thoughts. But if we're thinking about balance, it's like also giving and receiving, right? Like how much do I give and how much do I receive? So if you were to see that on a scale, what would be higher? You're probably giving a lot more than you are receiving. We live in a world where it's really difficult for us to receive. So there's a lot going on in that Justice card for me. And this new moon really is going to be about creating a greater capacity to receive. And then once we're able to receive, I think that idea of standing in your truth just becomes stronger, right? So, yeah, that was long.
Was very
long answer to your question.
Well, but it was very insightful because what I took away from that is the idea, and I couldn't help when you talk about it's different from that sort of authority, that I always think of that of justice being that idea of, you said law and order, and I think it's karmic or cosmic law and karmic or cosmic order. So it's what does the universe think is integral to to our existence, or what does the universe think is fair? And I always find it funny from an astrological perspective because that we talk about the idea of the new moon in Libra, it is always preceded by the full moon in Aries. So it's always that idea of the emperor shifting to that the emperor where we house law and rule that exists inside society, the boundaries that we create, right? That is when you talk about the card of law and order, it is not the Justice card, it's the Emperor card. It's the card that would put our laws in place. Justice is higher than that. It's almost like, a higher vibration of the Emperor card. It's where we're like, yeah, okay, now we've got all the laws in place, or even if we look at the idea of the new moon, as you had said, we've kind of we've made peace with that. We've made peace with our earthbound laws, and now we're actually ready to grow our cosmic law. We're ready to determine, well, what is fair? That question of, of setting aside, well, what do I want? Because I always think, the new moon is like, it's that's that ground that is ready to grow into a garden. And then the full moon is the garden that we're going to harvest and just cut back so that we can make room again for the new garden that's going to grow with new things and with a new focus.
So, I love that. From closets to gardens,
right?
We have it all gardens.
Here. And I'm much more likely to do, active work during a full moon, and I'm much more likely to do inner work in a new moon. So I'm much more likely to sit down and to write. It wouldn't be in a journal. I've said this many times, I'd be sitting at my computer writing, but it would really be kind of inner focused, whereas I think full moon work for me would be more often than not would be action oriented and outer focused. So, but I love how you described all that work. So,
thanks, Peter.
Do we do the same thing? Do we now we've got, what would be, that idea of, and we use different language. Well, I always think we think the same way. I'll put this night it goes back in. But the idea.
Are you putting it back in?
I'm going to put it back in. Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'll put mine back in.
Imagine if it comes up again. Right? Because, to me, I'm thinking about that idea of planting seeds, right? That new moon is um, yeah, it's no longer an idea of release, but I think you had said, of accepting or, bringing forward.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna think of it from an action oriented. It's like what can I initiate?
Mhm.
What can I newly initiate? What can I start? What can I hold agency in? And what area can I, um, yeah, can I act in to start something new? What court
Okay.
cards for me today?
Oh, you got another okay, I haven't pulled my card yet.
Okay.
I'm gonna use what am I ready to embrace? Like, what am I ready to invite into my life? Okay, I'm ready. Okay, I'm gonna pull it.
Okay. Good. 'Cause
Okay, go,
Well,
Peter.
all right. Well, again, I was talking about the idea of seed planting,
Oh, you
and
got
if
the Ace of Pentacles.
I did not. No, I did not. Actually, I got the almost extreme opposite of the Ace of Pentacles. I got the King of Bats.
Oh.
So it's so interesting, right? We were talking about the concept
Yeah.
of you know, yeah, of what am I going to grow, and was looking at the idea of sort of leadership, and I think the King of Bats. This is it. I think of this as the Superman card. This is the card of
Ah.
strength, but
Mhm.
strength through that lens of integrity. So this is not power, right?
Mhm.
This is justice. But again, it's
Yeah.
the personification of karmic and cosmic justice. Because I always think about this kings are always about leadership, and the king of swords or the king of bats leads with authority, but they lead with impartiality. Right? They're not. This is a sword card. This is air based. There's no heart here at all. As a matter of fact, they take emotion and they put it aside and they think through a rational lens. It's like, well, what do the facts tell me?
Mm.
So if I'm thinking of this from that perspective, I thought it was interesting that I got the Knight of Cups to let go of and the King of Swords to, kind of to grow. So it's, allowing myself to both be vulnerable through that Knight of Cups card, but also recognizing that concept of honesty, that concept of integrity. It's
Mhm.
allowing space for that to grow. That idea of rationality, that idea of clarity, and moral authority that exists inside that space of the King of Swords. So recognizing as well that that there is a concept of allowing yourself to be vulnerable, but there is also to do so making sure that you're always gauging your moral compass. Am I making sure that I am making decisions, that's swords, right? Am I making decisions that are right for me, that are true to my vision, that are true to my path, where,
Mhm.
I'm showing that level of internal leadership. So that's what that card speaks of to me as far as allowing space for that to be able to grow with that
Mhm.
upcoming new moon in Libra. I don't know. What about you? Any additional insights? Because you always have some amazing ones. So.
Oh, stop, Peter.
Well, look,
Um,
I'm almost asking. Yeah, I'm almost getting a free card reading here. So, and anybody else who's listening too.
you're funny. We do that for each other, you
I
know
know we
that.
do. I know we do. I look forward to your insight. That's why I'm asking the question.
I think it's really interesting that you got, like, 2 opposite energies in
Mhm,
those cards,
mhm,
right? So,
mhm.
like, you couldn't have gotten a more sensitive card with the
Right?
Knight of Cups. I
Correct.
mean, you could have gotten the Queen or the King,
Yeah.
but, in that realm of sensitivity, and
Hmm.
now we go over to the King of
King of
Swords, which
Swords. Right.
again, it the King of Swords to me, I read that very similar to the Justice card in terms of, like, standing in your power, reclaiming your power, your courage. I love that you think that that's like Superman, right? Like this rational strength.
Yep. Well, it's
I'm like, if I
strength and it's truth and justice, right? And I always think of, that truth and justice would have been traditionally how Superman would have described themselves, right? I am the superhero of power, strength, unlimited strength, but also, regardless of their strength, always through the lens of truth and justice. I could kill you
Mhm.
all. I've got the ability to do that, but I'm not going to do that. That my moral compass is actually, is quite firm.
Yeah, and he's fair and he stands in his integrity. So I think that's a beautiful card to use as a point of, planting a seed to grow, like standing in that power, standing in your truth, the honor, the strength, the bravery, like all of it. Like that is such a powerful card. So I'm excited for you, Peter.
Yeah. Well, me too. Me too. And, and yeah, with all the things kind of coming up, all things that, will be needed as well. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
Thank you for what
My
have you got?
goodness.
What have
You
you
did
got?
all the work. I was just, piggybacking on what you said. Okay, so funny that you got 2 court cards and I got 2 eights.
Oh, okay.
So it's so what am I ready to embrace or what am I ready to invite into my life? I got the 8 of imps, which is the 8 of wands. Yeah.
Where are you going?
So
where are you traveling?
I got opposite cards, just like you. You got 2 extreme opposites.
Yeah.
I also got 2 extreme opposites. So the 8 of bats, the 8 of swords is like being stuck. And this card is all about movement and momentum.
So it's like swiftness, right?
Yeah, it's like strike while the iron is hot, Bonnie. Like now's your chance. Go for it. Do it. So I think what I have to realize so tonight is a full moon. So I'm going to work on releasing this idea of stagnation or feeling really paralyzed by my fear or, judgment or criticism. And as I'm doing that, then now with this new moon coming up in Libra, I can now start to invite momentum. Like this is a perfect example of how energy changes. We're changing stagnation into movement. Like we couldn't have even made this up, Peter. Right?
We never do.
We never do, right? This is the power of tarot. Like you get so excited because you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that just showed up. So yeah, I need to invite movement and energy into my life as opposed to like hiding and playing small. Right now is like this opportunity to go for it and do it because the momentum is there, right? Like the energy is here. It's like the energy is waiting. Like the stagnation is like what's keeping everything stuck. And as soon as that gets released, the momentum can happen. So that was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the kind of energy too, right? When we're talking about the 8 of imps.
Yes.
You're talking about creative energy. You're talking about, passionate energy you're passionate about. This is energy to get things going as well. It's that starting energy. And sometimes it's a card that says, look, it's going to move fast. So enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride. Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you for bringing that perspective, which I completely missed. But yeah, when we think of fire energy and wands, it's like, what are you really passionate about? Like what lights you up? What inspires you? And use the energy behind that, like to go for it and do something, right? And then when I think of wands too, that's like our solar plexus. That's our center of like power and fire and determination and action. So I think this is telling me I need to start moving my body, feeling my solar plexus, taking action.
Your favorite court card is a wands card. Right?
Yes, that's the Queen of Wands.
Right? Kind of energy that you like to embrace. So
yeah. So I'm excited about that. See, and you can feel the energy, right? Like it's like when you're pulling cards and you're seeing what's coming up for you, you can actually start to embody the energy of what you're getting from the cards. And that like just catapults you into that that vibration, that alignment. It's incredible. So this is why we love tarot and this is why we love talking.
Well, exactly, right? Exactly. And why, it ends up that our episodes end up being an hour or more because we just connect to so much of the tarot. And then we see it as opportunities almost for personal guidance. Like when, we draw cards and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, but this relates so much to, to what I'm doing. But, for those of you that are listening, the cards that we drew, if they speak to you, we'd love to hear about, how or why, or, what kind of intentions did you set or what kind of things did you release? If you're comfortable talking about that, either in generalities or specifically, we'd love to hear how, if any, of the 4 cards that we drew today, impact or impacted you through the tarot.
And quite often, and you must see this too when you're working with clients, when you're giving them a reading, it's almost like it's a reading for yourself too. So often when we're learning about, other people, like what their readings are, it's like, oh, that totally relates to me as well. So I'm sure that the cards that we selected today are going to resonate with a lot of people in the audience. So yeah, we hope that's been somewhat informative and might help you with what's ready to be released and what you're ready to step into to start growing.
And if not, then the process of how to go about doing that and, asking some of those different kinds of
Mhm.
questions or, whether it's setting intentions and then drawing your own cards, around that process, whether it's the upcoming new moon in Libra that, is going to happen. I think you said, 20th, 21st. It's going to happen just prior to the sun moving into, I guess it'll happen right around the start of Scorpio season. Or whether it's this full moon or the upcoming full moon in Taurus, which, will happen sometime in early November or whatever new moon and full moon cycles happen. So,
Mhm.
and like I said, hopefully you found it helpful. Speaking of helpful, Bonnie, where can people find you? What kind of helpful things have you got, on the front burner or the back burner or the side burner? You know, well, with
Uh,
movement, fire energy, right? Where else are you gonna have that? But
I know. Wow,
on a
you might not be
burner.
able to find me. I'm going to be running so fast. The best place to find me is on my website, which is breathewithbonnie.com, or you can go to the podcast website, which is tarotwithbonnieandpeter.com. You can find all of our episodes there. You can find out more about myself and Peter there. I'm not super active on social media, although Peter was, giving it to me before this episode saying, Bonnie, you gotta put yourself out there. So right now you could follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram at Breathe with Bonnie. But if you want to stay up to date with what I have going on, I would invite you to join my email list. You can join from my website. When you do that, you'll get a free yoga nidra meditation. And I've got some fun stuff coming up the pipeline. I'm taking a really cool certification course that once I graduate, I'll be able to start offering those sessions. So join my newsletter and see what I'm going to be up to soon. And of course, if you want a tarot consultation, tarot mentorship, all that information is on my website, private yoga nidra sessions, guided meditations. It's all there. So thank you.
Awesome.
How about you, Peter?
Well,
where can we find you? What do you have coming up?
I'll get to that in a second. But first, the only reason I got on you about social media is because when you do post, they're always so creative. You talk about that fire energy. You create, either tiles, particularly on Instagram, and I'll go, wow, like were they professionally done? And they were not. You wear whatever tool you happen to use, and they're. So I think it's a waste sometimes that you're not on there more because that fire energy, that creative energy seems to come out. So as far
Thank
as
you.
where you can find me, same, tarotwithbonnieandpeter.com or at peterwhitetarot.com. Probably two big things coming up. I've got an in-person free workshop, actually. So for those of you that are in the Orangeville area, put on through the Experts in the Library series. It's called Tarot for Newbies. So it's really focused on people who either have very little or even no experience with the tarot and are curious what it's all about. So if that's you, or even if that's somebody who is commutable to Orangeville, that's on the evening of October the 16th. That's from 7 to 8:30 at the Orangeville Public Library. And then 2 days later, of course, my Cards of the Zodiac continues. That's on Saturday, October the 18th, where I will look into the cards of Scorpio, which is a personal favorite. So I'm always looking forward to that. And then look to Scorpio season because, as Bonnie mentioned, being her affinity to Libra, I have the very similar affinity to Scorpio. My sun is in Scorpio. My rising sign is Scorpio. Venus is there. All kinds of things are there. So I often have a special once a year around tarot consultations in Scorpio season. So if you're looking to do some tarot work with me, keep an eye on that. That will be on my social media channels. It will also be, I'll talk about it in my newsletter, and it will be valid during the entire Scorpio season. So the minute the sun hits 0 degrees Scorpio until it pops out at 29:59 at the other end. So that's lots of stuff. And yeah, that's what I've got going on. And yeah.
That's awesome, Peter. That's exciting.
It is. It is. So,
yes, if you're near Orangeville, come and check out Peter's course.
come by. Yeah, I've done it several times. It's like a 90-minute, and again, I bring a variety of different decks, and I really do try and talk about it from an accessibility Like, how can I make tarot accessible? So really just focusing on the simplicities of the structure of the tarot, a little bit about the history, and then, how could you sort of get into it if you know very little about it, with the hope that at the end of that talk, people will be like, oh my goodness, it's not what I thought it was at all. It's a valuable tool,
Mhm.
and kind of move forward. So
Amazing.
yeah. All right.
Well, we wanted to thank you all for being here with us on Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. This wouldn't be possible without you. If you enjoyed this episode, we would love it if you could give us a kind review, a 5-star review, and share it with other people that might be interested in learning about the tarot, or learning about how we look at the tarot. And yeah, if you have any comments, or if you have any questions or any suggestions for any upcoming episodes, we'd also love to hear from you. So we thank you, and we look forward to seeing you next time on Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. Bye.
Bye.